Good evening, councillors and staff. Welcome to the January meeting of Corangamite Shire Council. Welcome also to those who have joined us via our live streaming and members of the gallery. Can I ask you all to be outstanding for the prayer, please? We ask for guidance and blessing on this council. May the true needs and well-being of our communities be our concern. Help us who serve as leaders to remember that all our decisions are made in the best interests of the people, culture and the environment of the Corangamite Shire. Amen. Amen. We remain standing, please, for acknowledgement to country. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land around Corangamite Shire, the Eastern Maar and the Wadawurrung people. We pay our respects to all Aboriginal elders and peoples, past and present. Thank you, councillors. Can I introduce our councillors and staff that are with us this evening? Deputy Mayor Joe Beard, Councillor Kate Macon, Councillor Jamie Vogels, Manager of Assets Planning John Kelly, the Director of Sustainable Development Justine Linley, and the Manager of Planning and Building Services, Mr Aaron Moyne, Director of Corporate and Community Services, David Ray, Councillor Nick Cole, Councillor Geraldine Kennedy, Councillor Laurie Hickey, and our CEO, Mr Andrew Mason. Mr Mason, we have no apologies this evening from any councillors. Is there any declaration of conflict of interest?
Madam Mayor, we have one declaration of conflict of interest from Councillor Cole in relation to item 8.2, which is the Robilliards Road subdivision.
Thank you, Mr Mason. Councillors, the minutes of the meeting held on the 15th of December 2020 have been circulated. Would somebody like to move those minutes? Thank you, Councillor Vogels. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kennedy. Any comments, councillors, questions? If not, I'll put it to a vote. All in favour? It's carried. Mr Mason, we have deputations and presentations.
Correct, Madam Mayor. So we've got two written deputations from Ian Clark and Matthew Hoffman, and they're in relation to the Robilliards Road subdivision. We also have Alistair Davies, who is here tonight, and I believe he's going to make a deputation in relation to the same matter. Thank you, Mr CEO. Councillor Cole, you've declared a conflict of interest in this item, so can I ask you to leave for the deputations, please? Thank you. Mr Davies, if you'd like to come to the lectern, please. Thank you. You have 5 minutes to address council on this item.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, councillors, for this opportunity to speak in support of this application for a two-lot subdivision and development of new dwelling in Robilliards Road in Timboon. Following our site meeting, following some discussions with the objecting neighbours and my client, Mr Longbottom, we've made a number of small changes to the application, primarily proposing to plant some tree buffers to south and construct a paling fence along the boundary with Mr Clark's land to attempt to show some flexibility and recognise their concerns around the application. But we still propose that it's fundamentally an adequate outcome in terms of the planning scheme. We are effectively responding to the site, proposing a subdivision and dwelling that is in accordance with the character of that area, which is, in our opinion, a rural residential area, and the application will give a good planning outcome, allowing Mr Longbottom to effectively pull his broad-scale farming operations away from the small lots which are causing some conflict. We also thank Council in the consideration of the declaration of an unmade road running to the north, and have again proposed to utilise that for access for future cattle yards there, and potentially also, it in theory could also be used for further access by not only this landowner but also the existing landowners. There, again, a good outcome which is fixing a long-standing strange quirk of history and sorting out an issue which really, is going to give a good result to that community. And if there's any questions from councillors, I'd be delighted to answer them.
Thank you, Mr Davies. We don't have question answering during deputations, but thank you very much for your presentation. Councillors, to the agenda. We have no committee reports, so we'll move straight on to planning. Oh, sorry, we'd better get Councillor Cole back. Apologies to Councillor Cole. I nearly left you out there, Councillor Cole. We will move straight to planning reports, and item 8.1 is Planning Scheme Amendment C55, request for authorisation. It's at 373 Old Geelong Road, Camperdown. I'll ask Mr Moyne to introduce this item, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you I present Council with this report which relates to proposed Planning Scheme Amendment C55 and seeks Council's approval to request ministerial authorisation for the amendment and to proceed with public exhibition. The request for a planning scheme amendment has been submitted independently by the landowner and is not a council-led proposal. The amendment seeks to rezone the land at 373 Old Geelong Road, Camperdown, from farming zone to industrial 1 zone. The subject site adjoins existing industrial land in the Old Geelong Road, Depot Road area and is identified within the Camperdown Township Structure Plan as future industrial land. Before the amendment may proceed, Council must resolve to request ministerial authorisation and proceed with public exhibition in accordance with the Planning Environment Act. Costs associated with the amendment will be borne by the proponent. The amendment presents an opportunity for Council to facilitate future industrial development and investment opportunities within the Shire, adjoining an existing industrial precinct and which appears to attract strategic support to proceed to the next stage. The recommendation is provided before you.
Thank you, Mr Moyne. Councillors, we have a recommendation. Would anyone like to move a motion? Councillor Kennedy, do I have a seconder? Councillor Hickey. Councillor Kennedy, would you like to speak to your motion, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. Yes, I'm very happy to support this recommendation. To me, it makes good sense for this rezoning to proceed to the ministerial Minister for Planning. The subject site already adjoins an existing industrial land which is already developing as a precinct for industrial purposes. So the rezoning fits easily and logically with the policy direction of the council planning scheme and the real need for more industrial zones near Camperdown, particularly to support the agricultural sector. The applicant has indicated already that a number of operators are interested to locate to the site should it be rezoned. It is well located for purpose and is well away from Camperdown Township, residential and sensitive land uses. It has the necessary services available and Old Geelong Road is already approved for heavy freight vehicles. This is positioning that Corangamite Shire needs to facilitate business and development investment and to increase employment opportunity and diversity and to support our local economy. Therefore, I'm more than happy to support this recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Councillor Hickey, do you have something to add?
Mayor, I think this presents a perfect opportunity to expand the industrial attraction to the region, and very happy to support the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillors, anybody have anything further they'd like to add? I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Motion's carried. We're up to item 8.2. Councillor Cole, I'll have to ask you to leave again due to your conflict. Thank you. Item 8.2 is a planning permit application, PP 2020-087, a two-lot subdivision and the use of development of land for a dwelling at 270 Robilliards Road, Timboon. Mr Moyne.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you, I present Council with this report for planning permit application PP 2020/087. The application seeks planning approval for a two-lot subdivision boundary realignment and use and development of land for a dwelling. The proposed subdivision seeks to realign existing title boundaries to create Lot 1 of 4.7 hectares containing the proposed dwelling and Lot 2 totalling approximately 120 hectares of balanced farmland. The proposed dwelling will be sited on Lot 1 with access provided from Robilliards Road via a driveway to be constructed. The proposed subdivision and dwelling would result in the creation of a small rural residential property accessed from Robilliards Road, with the balanced land to be incorporated into the landowner's existing farming business. When assessing applications for subdivision and dwellings in rural areas, it must be demonstrated that the proposal will not result in the loss of productive agricultural land and that farming activity on adjoining land will continue unaffected. The construction of the proposed dwelling in the subdivision is viewed as appropriate in this context, given the section of land is already separated from the balanced farm and directly adjoins a cluster of small rural residential lots. Public notice of the application has been undertaken and Council has received 2 objections. Key issues raised include fragmentation of farming land, site access, amenity impacts on neighbouring properties, land use conflict, access to water and native vegetation impact. Each of these issues have been reviewed and addressed as part of the planning assessment. The application has been assessed against the relevant provisions of the Corangamite planning scheme and provides an acceptable response to the relevant provisions, in particular the municipal planning strategy, planning policy framework and farming zone. The recommendation is provided before you.
Thank you, Mr Moyne. Councillors, recommendation, as Mr Moyne said before you, would someone like to move a motion?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'd like to propose an alternate motion, please.
Thank you, Councillor Macon. And I'll just get a, yes, please go ahead and propose your new proposal.
Yeah, sure.
To hear what it is.
Thank you. I wish to move an alternate motion for PP 2020/087, which varies the officer's recommendation for Council to issue a notice of decision to grant a permit, with amended conditions requiring the applicant to upgrade and extend Robilliards Road to access the dwelling. The road extension must be undertaken to Council's satisfaction before the development starts. The amendment conditions are reflected on the table alternate motion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Macon. Is there a seconder for the alternate motion? Thank you, Councillor Vogels. Councillor Macon, would you like to speak to your motion, please?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. I feel this amendment is the best outcome for both the applicant and the residents on Robilliards Road. By putting the driveway further down the road, it will give privacy to all the homeowners on this road. Historically, there has been conflict between the properties owners and the farming operation owner. The future landholder of the small lot will be able to use the land for small-scale agriculture, ancillary to a dwelling, which will be more capable with the existing rural resident properties in this location. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Macon. Councillor Vogels, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, well, after visiting the site 270 Robilliards Road, I think it's all in fitting character for the area. I think just, yeah, the extension to Robilliards Road will make much more sense and offer the other people the more privacy that they like, which is why they live out there. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Vogels. Councillors, anyone have anything further? Councillor Beard?
Yes, through Madam Mayor, and apologies as I was unfortunately away during or when the on-site meeting was held, so I actually went and visited the site yesterday and have certainly made sure I've been across not only the issues but the submissions that were made and have spoken with fellow councillors. I think for me, it's in a farming zone. You can't compare what we have in our townships being residential zones to what the application is here by putting the... My only concern was with the access, I guess, to the site. I don't have an issue with the application except for the access. So by going and having a look at it myself, I'm a lot more comfortable now, having heard Councillor Macon's alternate motion, to shift that to the further down the road. My concerns, I think, were that have been shared by the objectors, and that, yeah, you can't compare it to a residential area where we have driveways adjacent to fences, and we know it's usually only small vehicles, but there could be tractors, trucks, anything accessing that farming property. So I think it makes sense the further it's moved down the road. I think it'll just be more palatable to everyone on that road. So I'm certainly supportive of Councillor Makin's motion.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillors, anything further? Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. Yes, I agree with the comments that Councillor Beard has made. I too felt that that was probably the only issue that really hadn't been adequately addressed, and it certainly was raised at the on-site meeting by more than one of the people that were there, and also one of the objectors actually even said that they would be happy to see that occur. So I think really it was the only item left to be addressed, and I think everything else has been adequately managed with this application. I don't have any issue with the application at all. I think it makes sense in that sort of little settlement. The new premises will be adjacent to the 4 houses that already exist there. So to me, it's a perfectly proper proposal.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. There's nothing further. Put that to the vote. All in favour? Motion is carried. Mr. Ague, would you mind asking Councillor Cole to rejoin us, please? Councillors, we'll now move on to officers' reports, and item 9.1 is the Councillor Code of Conduct. Mr. Mason.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. Council is required to adopt a Councillor Code of Conduct within 4 months of the election. The code must contain mandatory standards plus other matters that the Council considers necessary. The Code of Conduct is an important document as it sets out the behaviours that councillors are agreeing to abide by, and outlines the processes or potential processes for dealing with behavioural issues or conflict between councillors. So it's a document that we need to have, it's a document that we need to all agree to, but we hope that councillors never have to use it. The recommendation before council is that you revoke the previous Code of Conduct, adopt the new code, and that you will all agree to signing up to the code.
Thank you, Mr. Mason. And can I just mention before going to councillors, under clause 7.1, the informal dispute resolution, there's the third paragraph, it's on page 36 of council's agenda. It's where councillors have a dispute and haven't been able to resolve the matter between themselves. They may request the mayor to convene a meeting, and where the mayor is party to the dispute, the request is to be made to the deputy mayor, or if both the mayor and deputy mayor is involved, the most recent past mayor. And as this council doesn't have a past mayor outside myself and the deputy mayor, can I suggest that the next port of call is yourself?
Sure.
So if we could just amend that under item 7.1, please.
So, Madam Mayor, I'll be recommending that you, under 2, you adopt the Council Code of Conduct as is set out with that minor amendment.
Yeah, thank you. Councillors, there's a recommendation there. Someone like to move recommendation as a motion? Councillor Beard. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kennedy. Thank you. Councillor Beard.
Yes, thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor, and I'll take on board what our CEO has recommended to do, and we'll put that into the motion if that's okay. What we've just discussed, or what the Mayor just raised, I think it certainly makes sense considering we don't have any other mayor, so that's good. And hopefully it never comes to that anyway. It's all about accountability, and this code of conduct, we did do, this as part of our workshop when this council firstly came together. The previous one that we're revoking was the previous council, so it makes sense that that this one is our own stamp, and it's integral to, as I said, the accountability of councillors, and not only the way in which we interact with each other, but the staff, but more importantly our community. So we all come here with the greatest of intentions to do the right thing, but at least it's actually outlined in a document and a policy, as I said, that makes us accountable. Significant words that stand out to me are courtesy and respect, and that's not just for each other. As I said, it's for staff members and the community. Leading by example, integrity and honesty. So I think they're pretty strong words, and once we all, hopefully, we all agree to signing our signature on this policy, then we'll continue to uphold that for the next 4 years. So I'm very proud of the Code of Conduct, and in previous years I have every now and then referred to it, and it is something, as I said, that is an important document for not only us as councillors but also the organisation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillor Kennedy, have you anything further to add?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think Councillor Beard has spoken more than eloquently to that motion, so I'm sure I can't add any more to it.
Good. Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Councillors, is there any further comments? I'll put it to the vote. All in favour? Carried. Item 9.2 is the Councillor gift policy. Mr Mason, can you introduce this item, please?
Again, through you, Madam Mayor, the Local Government Act requires Council to adopt a gift policy. The Councillor's treatment and acceptance of gifts is important for transparency reasons. The content of the policy is largely based on what was contained in the previous Councillor Code of Conduct, and it's recommended that Council adopt the gift policy as is required by the new Act.
Thank you, Mr Mason. Councillors, there's a recommendation there. Does someone like to move that recommendation? Anybody? Councillor Beard, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Macon, thank you. Councillor Beard.
I'm taking this one for the team, clearly. Through you, Madam Mayor. Look, this is important. It's a standalone policy. It's really important that, as the CEO acknowledged before, it's all about transparency. And it's not something that so much happens in the rural or regional councils that we know of. It's things that have happened and gone astray in metro councils that makes the rest of us look bad. So it's something that we have to do through the Act, and as a standalone policy, once again, it just highlights the importance of transparency in what we do in our role as councillors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillor Macon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think Councillor Beard has said it all quite well, and I'm quite happy to support the motion. Thank you.
She has. Thank you, and I think it is really important that the councillors do have a clear document that sets out what their responsibilities are around and about accepting gifts and being, as we say, very transparent in that process. I'll put the motion to the vote. All in favour? It's carried. Item 9.3 is the Small Business Assistance Program Policy. Ms Linley, could you introduce this item, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Councillors. This program has been adapted from the Innovation and Entrepreneur Grants program run by Council in 2019 and 20. In May last year, a review of the program was undertaken as a result of feedback and learnings from both this program and other stimulus grant programs offered by Council. The purpose of this new policy is to encourage businesses, both new and existing, within the Shire, to innovate, adapt or diversify in order to encourage new projects, services and business ideas that will have a positive impact on both the business and more broadly economic activity throughout the Corangamite Shire. The officer's recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Ms Linley. This is a very exciting new business assistance program that we're launching this evening. There's a recommendation there, councillors, to adopt the policy. Would someone like to move that, please? Councillor Macon. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hickey. Councillor Macon.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. This is a great new and improved program that has been developed in response to feedback from small businesses that are searching for funding opportunities to complete improvements and or to encourage innovation, diversification and to introduce a new product or service to the Shire. As we all know too well with COVID-19, we've all had to adapt and change somehow, and this program can assist you in achieving what needs to happen. Opportunities will be given to new and existing businesses who are exploring creative ways to do business, adapt and diversify. Some of the examples of the projects that could be considered include a website, equipment, upgrades, investment in new technology, creation of new spaces to allow business to expand. I'm looking forward to seeing what small businesses can achieve with this new and improved policy program. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Macon. Mr Hickey. Councillor Hickey,
Thanks,
beg your
Mayor.
pardon.
No, I've got nothing further to add. I think it's a great initiative and very happy to support it.
Terrific. Thank you. Councillors? Councillor Vogels.
I'd just like to add that small business might want to get in quick because I'm sure this will be oversubscribed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further, councillors? Councillor Beard.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to say, yes, it's a fantastic program and it's great we've got this policy around it. It was on the back of the feedback, as Councillor Macon alluded to, around the Innovation and Entrepreneur Grants program, which, as previous councillors, we likened it to a bit of a Shark Tank, if you know the TV show. Unfortunately, we didn't have the applicants, or it didn't sort of tick the boxes of what we thought that program was going to achieve. So part of the review was to take on board the feedback, and this certainly now opens up the door, I think, for a more diversified round of applicants to have a go at it. And I'm just glad that we can react to the feedback in a positive way like this, and thank the councils for the support in hopefully in this recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. If there's nothing further, councillors, put the motion to the vote. All in favour? It's carried. Item 9.4 is the Quick Response Grants Allocation for January 2021. Again, Ms Lindley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report is to consider the January 2021 allocation of funds as part of the Quick Response Grants program. The program supports instances of community need that are not readily able to be considered under other grant programs or created by the council. Applications for quick response grants are considered by council as they are received and are assessed against criteria, namely eligibility, alignment with the council plan, benefit to the community and eligible expenditure. The annual budget allocation for the program is $17,500 with $13,228 remaining should council approve the current application. Madam Mayor and councillors, officers have received an application from the Cricket Club for $499. I would like to point out that that application has been wrongly or inaccurately attributed to the South Central Ward. It's actually in the South West Ward, so we could make note of that. Officers are also not in a position to recommend the approval of funding under the policy. However, it is open for council to consider the application, the recommendations.
Thank you, Ms Lindley. Councillors, there's a recommendation that not to approve funding, primarily I think because these works have already occurred, and this the criteria around this grant fund is that we can't fund things retrospectively. That's the reason why of not approving the funding. Someone like to move the recommendation or move an alternate recommendation, please? Councillor Beard.
I'm happy to move the recommendation from the officers, thank you.
Fine, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kennedy. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councillor Beard?
Look, it's pretty much, as you've stated, it's retrospective, that we don't, it's in the policy guidelines that we can't issue funds retrospectively. So, yeah, unfortunately, from time to time, something like this would happen because the applicant may not have full understanding of the process of the quick response grants, but certainly encourage the club to look into the future at what other options, of other opportunities there are for them to utilise this grant, this quick response money.
Thank
in the
you.
future. Thank you.
Councillor Kennedy, did you have anything to add?
No, I don't think I can add any more to that, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, Councillor Macon.
I would not be supporting the officer's recommendation to decline the quick response grant to the Eckland Cricket Club. Unfortunately, there was a miscommunication between the applicant and the Shire as to how the funds were being used, so therefore that's why we have this recommendation in front of us at the moment. So unfortunately the cricket club will not be able to buy their new cricket nets for the club because they had to spend it on a roller for the act of vandalism on their club. So I will be meeting up with them on Thursday night, so I'll be recommending that they try and get a quick response grant in for something else. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Macon. Councillors, is there any further comments? Councillor Hickey.
Mayor, I think it'd be wonderful as part of an education program if every person or every club who makes a grant for this fully understands the parameters in which they apply. So possibly Councillor Macon could explain or educate the club on what needs to be done, and wish them all the very best in further applications.
Thank you.
Is there anything further, councillors? No? I agree with what has been the sentiment that's been aired this evening. I don't like refusing money to volunteer organisations, so like other councillors, Councillor May can pass on our thoughts to them and ask them that, you know, if they need money for the nets, that they can look at putting in an application well before they buy them.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, I'll put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? Motion's carried. Item 9.5 is Municipal Emergency Management Planning Arrangements. Ms Lindley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In 2018, the Emergency Management Legislation Amendment Act 2018, or the EMLA Act, was passed through Parliament, which seeks to establish an integrated, comprehensive and coordinated framework for emergency management planning. Prior to this reform, the responsibility for developing and approving municipal emergency management plans and coordinating the municipal fire and municipal emergency management planning committees was the responsibility of councils. The municipal level emergency management planning reforms came into effect on the 1st of December 2020, so very recently. This report provides council with a recommendation to disband the existing municipal emergency management planning committee, not because it was dysfunctional, but because it's required as part of the amendment to the Act, to disband the committee and to authorise the CEO or delegated officer to commence the establishment of a new municipal emergency management committee in accordance with the requirements of the Emergency Management Legislation Amendment Act 2018. The recommendation is before you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Lindley. Councillors, there's a recommendation on page 62. Would someone like to move that? Councillor Beard. Do I have a seconder? Councillors, Councillor Hickey.
Sure.
Sorry, I think I saw your hand first. Apologies, Councillor Macon. I'll look your way next. Councillor Beard.
Through you, Madam Mayor, thank you. As the outgoing chair of what will potentially be the disbanded committee, I feel it's only right that I actually speak to this recommendation and move the motion. Obviously, through legislative, through the new legislative requirements, this committee no longer can be what it has been in the past. So I totally understand and can see why we now have to be in this situation. I think it's a really important committee, this one, and one that's brought many emergency services together at the one table and has proven really pivotal and vital in years gone by through various emergencies that our communities have had to go through. It's integral to the through the safekeeping of our communities, and as I said, the people that sit at that table obviously go over all the risks that are in our communities and have strategies in place and how we're going to actually deal with them as communities. So I can see why it's so important. Disappointing that as the previous chair that will no longer be happening, but I have the utmost faith that council, which I know the CEO has delegated that through to what used to be our MERO, and I know we all love acronyms when we talk about anything emergency management, but the MERO, who is Lyle Bond, which was the Municipal Emergency Resource Officer, will now actually be known as the Municipal Emergency Management Officer, which to me makes a lot more sense and seems a lot more understandable. Lyle has a proven track record and will be a well and respected and just is completely over everything to do with emergency management. And with the new committee being set up, it's critical that he's in that role as chair. So I have full support for him. I will implore the committee, however, when they first get together, to actually reinstate the municipal fire and flood committees, which have previously been a subgroup to the MEMC. We obviously have fire and flood in our municipality, so it's important that we have those committees still overseeing the risks involved in those jurisdictions. So I implore the MEMC, when they get up and going, to make sure that they reinstate those. I also think it's important, and I'm hoping Ms Lindley can make note of this, that in previous we've also had representation from agencies like was known previously as Vic Roads, but now Regional Roads Victoria, Parks, DELP, also Health Services. I think it's critical going forward that they're still part of the committee in some way. So, as I said, when that committee first meets, and I think it's important that they need to put out the invitation and still have that representation, because the more people like them involved when we have emergencies, the greater the outcome that we can have, and the relationships are integral to great outcomes. So, certainly supportive of the motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Beard, and thank you for all the work that you've done on the previous emergency committee. I know it's close to your heart. Councillor Hickey.
Thank you, Mayor. It gives me pleasure to second this motion for the adoption of the Municipal Emergency Management Committee, and hopefully that we don't have to use this. However, in the event of it being implemented, it gives me great comfort to know that the organisations have all been together and have a plan. But the important part is the planning, of course. So I think it's critical that this committee be supported, and I'm happy to second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Councillors, nothing further. We'll move to the vote. All in favour? That's carried. Item 9.6 is the Corangamite Shire Future Library Management Model. Mr Kelly.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. Corangamite Shire and in partnership with Moyne Shire engaged a consultant to undertake independent review of those councils' library services. This was triggered by the proposed departure of the Warrnambool City Council and Corangamite Shire, effective at the end of June 2021, from the existing Corangamite Regional Library Corporation. So the report from that review, which is available as an under separate cover to the report, from that comprehensive review, the advice was that the best management model going forward is a shared service with Moyne Shire, which would provide the most cost-efficient and improved service, and that was compared to other options, for example, standalone arrangement for each of the shires. So this shared service is strategically sound and operationally superior. In the model, Council maintains direct responsibility for operational costs and staff costs with the libraries, but the collection items management would be coordinated by one of the councils to be determined and the cost shared. So before Council is the recommendation that this new shared service for library management, this model be pursued and commenced as of July 2022, and in the 12 months prior there'd be a transition period with both councils, with the Corangamite Regional Library Corporation dissolving at July 2022.
Thank you, Mr Kelly. Councillors, there's a recommendation on page 68 around library services into the future. Would someone like to move that recommendation? Councillor Makin, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kennedy. Councillor Makin.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. We shouldn't underestimate the importance of libraries for the community. So I fully agree with the recommendation for us to continue a shared service with the Moyne Council and look at the opportunities of getting more councils on board as time goes by. And also to looking into subscribing to the statewide library management system, which can provide quite a range of access for all the library users, including the internet and literacy programs. So I'm more than happy for us to continue supporting the libraries and getting them up and running and continuing our commitment with the Moyne Shire. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Macon. Councillor Kennedy, did you want to add something?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. Yes, it was something of a blow when we got the news that the Warrnambool City Council and Corangamite Shire had decided to withdraw from the Corangamite Regional Library Corporation, which has been running successfully since 1996. I don't think any of us could imagine not having a library service, especially one that's been as valuable and effective in our communities. So I have no hesitation in supporting the recommendation to pursue the recommended model for a shared arrangement. It's been well researched and shown to be a superior model, offering cost efficiencies and a strong strategic sense. So look forward to seeing what we wind up with.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Is there anything further, councillors? If not, if I could just make a couple of comments, putting my hat on as chair of the Corangamite Regional Library Corporation, it was certainly disappointing to lose the City of Warrnambool and Colac Otway, who have been part of the corporation since 1996. As councillors be aware, Colac Otway are taking their library service to the Geelong Library Corporation, and Warrnambool City are building their own library, and they're going to take over the management of the existing library and the staff as of the 1st of July. But what I'd like to assure our residents, and particularly our library members, that at Corangamite and Moyne it's going to be business as usual. You'll see very little change in the library operations from the 1st of July. In fact, I'd encourage people to come in and check out the local library. I'm hearing a lot of people who are downloading books from various platforms. When you can join the library, download BorrowBox and become a reader on your Kindle using or your device using books that are free. Because the thing about libraries, the best thing about libraries is that they are completely free to anyone that wants to use them. So it will be business as usual. There'll be community consultation about what library services our communities want to see. So there could, and I'm hoping that there will be improved library services after the 1st of July 2022. And we're also saying, looking at, we will be meeting up with Glenelg Shire and Southern Grampian Shire to discuss their library needs into the future. So Corangamite library services, or whatever will be Corangamite Moyne services after 1st of July 2022, I think will be fantastic, and certainly a much well-loved service that needs to continue. Thank you, Councillor. So I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? That's carried. Item 9.7 is contract number 2021019, the Cobden Streetscape construction. Mr. Kelly.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, this item seeks council approval to award a contract for the Cobden Streetscape. The works in the contract based on priority items for improvements that were identified from the community during the design development last year. Some of those items include replacement of the existing asphalt footpath with a new concrete footpath both sides of Curtis Street in the CBD, increased seating in that street, as well as repositioning of some of the all-access car parks, including improved access ramps for those parks, also improved pram crossings at the existing pedestrian crossings, and also some upgraded landscaping plantings in the main street. From the tender process and evaluation, the best overall value for council is considered to be provided by Blue Civil and Construction from Birregurra, with a contract price of $567,990. that company's provided or undertaken numerous major civil construction work, including Kerman Channel and car park works for Corangamite Shire. Works are programmed to commence next month with completion in May 2021. The budget for the works is $600,000, which is jointly funded by Council and also from the Federal Government's Local Roads and Community Infrastructure Program. Any savings as a result of the difference between the tender price and the budget, any savings will be put towards other items that identified by the committee that weren't part of, didn't make it into the scope of the contract. So with that, put before Council as in the report that has recommended that the contract for the Cobden Streetscape be awarded to Blue Civil and Construction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Kelly. Councillors, there's a recommendation there around this contract. Would someone like to move the motion? Councillor Beard. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Macon. Councillor Beard.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to be glass half full with this one. I would like to add a little bit in terms of the recommendation. Just they're only an addition, if that's all right. So I'd like to add number 4, that items included in the Cobden Streetscape plans that have been excluded because of the budgetary constraints be developed into a second stage of works. And number 5, options to fund the stage 2 works to be developed for council consideration. Okay. So I can speak further to that if that's okay with the seconder.
Councillor Macon, are you happy with those additions? Thank you. Councillor Beard.
Thanks, Councillor Macon. So by adding those 2 elements to the recommendation, we're going to hopefully continue to capture the elements of the contract that have had to be removed because of the budget constraint. It's interesting, that's when I say about the glass half full approach. It'd be great to do everything that was in the concept design that went to the tender documents, but unfortunately that's not the case when we look at the inflation of how much our streetscapes are actually costing now compared to when we initially had budgeted money aside 10 years ago. It's like anything we do now, like building roads, everything costs so much more. So I'm grateful to the support of the previous council in having the 300,000, but also the federal government for their contribution too, that was enabling this project to come up to the 600k mark. But as I said, it still doesn't quite capture everything of the community's expectation, but it's still exciting. We're going to get a wonderful new streetscape, and I'm just really adamant that I'd like to still capture the parts that have been taken out in future works as part of a stage 2. I think at the end of the day, the tender applications in terms of local content were quite a standout, but it was the price at the end of the day that came to it. There's a considerable difference between each of the tenderers when it came to price, and knowing that we had such a tight budget, we want to get everything we can as possible for the money we've got. It is an exciting project. Did we get the consultation right? Probably not, because it was during COVID. We didn't get to do our face-to-face, walks down the street talking with the community members like we normally would. But I think considering a lot of it was done through online feedback, we've come out with a pretty good outcome. We are an ageing community in Cobden, me particular, I'll say, but I like to think that we're addressing the community, not only the community concerns, but their requests for what they needed. And one of those particularly, as Mr Kelly highlighted, was the all-access parks and the fact that we're going to have a greater access for the people that need it the most, and also setting the infrastructure up in a way that's is certainly ticking off on all the standards that we require these days. We're also having to address the issue of removing some beautiful London plane trees in Victoria Street, which removing trees is always contentious, but when it comes to the point that the trees are actually damaging our infrastructure, then we need to look at what we're going to do in place of that. So removing only part of the trees along one side of Victoria Street, and then replacing them with something that's more suitable for that area. So I think that will be a good outcome. Whether it's going to, keep everybody happy, we can never do a streetscape in any of our communities that keep everybody happy, but we do certainly try. I certainly think we will continue, and Mr Kelly, I know, has been working really hard behind the scenes to get Regional Roads Victoria RRV to do the resurfacing of Curtis Street. At the same time that we're doing these streetscape works, it makes sense to have just the single disruption to a main street rather than having to have them occurring over months at a time. So I'll be appreciative of Mr Kelly and I'd say our CEO and Mayor to continue on with that advocacy to hopefully get those works done at the same time. Unfortunately, a couple of the items that have been removed from the contract documents is the artistic street furniture, which was going to be that point of difference, but I think there will still be opportunity going forward to capture that. Some new outstands, which once again can get picked up later on. But as a whole, the streetscape itself is going to look amazing. It's definitely ready and needs it done. And there is a bit of a buzz around town in anticipation of when it's actually going to start. So if we can get this ticked tonight through council, you'll have one very happy and excited community, I would say, going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. That's what we like, happy and excited communities. Councillor Macon, do you have anything to add?
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. The strategy in the council plan is improving the appearance of towns and public spaces by progressively upgrading the streetscape infrastructure of the towns, and it's great that Cobden gets its turn to update its streetscape and to make it more inviting to locals and visitors. By replacing the existing asphalt footpaths with concrete footpaths, putting more seating in Curtis Street and the crossings to make it more pram friendly is just a fantastic opportunity for Cobden and making it a more livable town. As Councillor Beard has suggested before, the local content with the contractor is a little bit disappointing, but understand it all comes down to dollars in the end. We do need to keep the locals up to date with what's happening with the project, so if there is delays, we need to keep the communication lines going, just so the community is all happy with what's going on and they can see that works are being done and not being delayed. And by adding those couple of extra recommendations in there, Councillor Beard, I can't wait to see what stage 2, if we can get all those things we had to take out of the budget, put back in there and get them done as well. But overall, this is a great project and I can't wait to see it to begin, and I'm sure you'll have a very happy community down there at Cobden. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Macon. Councillors, is there anything further? We'll put it, Councillor Hickey.
Yeah, the cost of, Mayor, thank you. The cost of any project is not necessarily always financial. Sometimes disruption takes a big impact on people's lives and businesses and the like. So I think if it's going to be disruptive, let's do it once and do it all inclusively and just get the job done with the minimum of fuss.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Without a doubt, when we saw that with Camperdown's stage 2, it took quite a long time, and the disruption to the businesses year before last was quite significant. So I'd certainly urge the contractors to get in and get it done quickly, and hopefully with Regional Roads Victoria we can get Curtis Street resealed. We'll work towards that, certainly. Councillors, I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion's carried. Item 9.8 is the Finance Report, December 2020. Mr Ray.
Mayor, thank you, and through you. The report recommends that Council note its financial position as at 31 December 2020 and to also approve a number of variations to the current year's budget. Council's financial position is favourable to budget of around about $1.5 million. The nature of those range through an improved rate income position, to some grants received in advance and some favourable expenditure associated with operating costs. And also, as at the end of December, the capital budget was favourable to about $200,000. The variations themselves are documented in the report as part of the attachment. Those variations approximate $850,000. And the nature of those variations are also included and described in the report. I think from my perspective, councillors, what I guess I would like to draw your attention to is the unfavourable variation associated with the federal government financial assistance grants. That's $250,000 recurrent impact this year. That's significant in terms of quantum, and will have some future implications for council that we'll need to resolve as part of the 21-22 budget. So the recommendation is before you is to note the financial position and to approve those variations as per the attachment.
Thank you, Mr Ray. Councillors, someone like to move the recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Macon, thank you. Councillor Kennedy, did you have any questions or comment to make?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's quite normal for there to be variations to any budget. It's not always easy to get things perfectly accurate, is it? But these variations have been well explained. We can understand and see clearly why they're required. So I don't have any issue with the explanation, and I'm more than happy to support the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Councillor Macon?
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor, I just have one question, Mr Ray. There's lots of projects that are in progress. Can we sort of know when they might be winding up soon?
Mayor, through you and Councillor Macon, thank you for your question. The nature of Council's Capital Works program necessitates the completion of projects throughout the financial year. Most of these projects are part of our annual construction program, and typically we would see most of the works associated with infrastructure such as roads, footpaths, curb and channel completed towards the end of March and April, so before autumn sets in. So we're well and truly in progress. The next report, which Council will receive in April, we would like to see many of these projects move from in progress to completed. And it's certainly our intention that we maintain a high completion rate as we have in previous years.
Thank you, Mr Ray.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thanks, Councillor Macon. Councillors, any further questions on the finance report? I'll put it to a vote. All in favour? Carried. Item 9.9 is the application of the Common Seal of Council for 2020. Mr Mason.
Thank you through you, Madam Mayor. The Common Seal is used under delegation by myself as CEO on various legal agreements such as leases and 173 agreements, and I'm required to report that use annually to Council. So the recommendation is that Council note how the Common Seal has been used in 2020, and that that Council authorises myself or the CEO to use the Council Seal on the type of documents listed in the recommendations, which tries to pick up all the sort of regular or common legal agreements that the Common Seal needs to be applied to. So the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Mr Mason. Councillors, there's a recommendation there plus a list of where the seal has been used in the last 12 months. Someone like to move that recommendation? Please. Councillor Beard. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hickey. Councillor Beard.
Oh, look, nothing much to say on this one, Madam Mayor. It's procedural really, and appreciate the fact that the CEO is doing a lot of work there by the looks of it over the last 12 months by utilising the seal, so thank you.
He's very busy sealing things. Councillor Hickey, did you have anything to add?
No, nothing, Mayor, purely procedural.
Thank you. I'll put it to the vote, councillors. All in favour? Carried. Item 9.10 is the determination of mayoral and councillor allowances. Mr Mason.
Again, through you, Madam Mayor, the Local Government Act requires Council to set allowances for the Mayor and councillors within a band that has been set by the State Government or the Minister for Local Government. This matter went to the December Council meeting and has subsequently been put on public notice. No submissions have been received, and it's recommended that Council now set allowances as set out in the recommendation. I just would note that these allowances are consistent with the allowances paid to the previous council.
Thank you, Mr Mason. Councillors, there's a recommendation there regarding allowances. Would someone like to move that recommendation? Councillor Macon, thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Beard. Councillor Macon.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. Totally agree that us as councillors and the Mayor should be paid. It should be a paid position. No, but fully agreed with what we set out in the December meeting, and I am happy to support this recommendation. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Macon. Councillor Beard.
As it states, it's an allowance, not a wage, and considering the amount of hours and expectation on councils, it's only right that there is an allowance. It also becomes, in the end, hopefully an attractor down the track for other people to become councillors. I think it is a great thing that we had no submissions. I can't recall having any in the past, but you often, get the, the nudge in the tummy and that from people, making the jabs, oh, you earn your money, or what we do and what we don't do. But as I said, this is an allowance. It really doesn't stack up to the amount of work that everybody does, but it's nice to know that we're getting something as a gesture. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. It certainly is. It is compensation for the time that councillors set aside, quite often out of their working day, to attend council functions. And I think when we boil it all down and you look at how much you're being paid an hour for what you do for the council, it really is well below the average wage. And I can appreciate that, it is a significant amount of money to some people, or to a lot of people, I would think. But councillors do work hard for their allowances. Is there anything further, councillors? Put it to the vote. All in favour? Carried. Councillors, we're now moving on to other business. And before I ask councillors if they have any other business, can I just make note of the fact that Corangamite citizen Mark Roberts was awarded the Australian Fire Services Medal in the Australia Day Awards yesterday. And with your indulgence, I'd just like to read the citation for Mark. Mr Mark Roberts has provided outstanding service to the Country Fire Authority in the Cobden district for many years. He is a highly respected strike team leader and a Level 2 incident controller who has demonstrated these skills at a range of emergency incidents, notably during the St Patrick's Day fires near Terang and Cobden in 2017. His contributions over an extended period went beyond expectations. The successful outcome and management of this fire, including some difficult issues during the recovery phase, were largely due to his efforts. He also willing engages with young brigade members, assisting in their development as confident, team-orientated members of the CFA who add value to their community. Mr Roberts has provided dedicated commitment to the CFA and to the safety of the community of Victoria throughout his long career. And I know Mark would be probably, quite humbled, I would think, by that award, and I think he would be the first person to say that he didn't do it on his own, that he certainly did it with his brigade. Everything he does is for his community. So I would just like to congratulate him, and I'm sure all councillors would join me in doing that. So well done, Mark. Councillors, does anyone have further business, other business? No? Well, then we'll move to open forum. This is an opportunity for members of the gallery, and we have 4 members still with us to address council for 5 minutes. Mr Mulholland, would you like to make your way to the lectern?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for the opportunity to speak to you. I speak to you on a matter that I feel is of extreme importance and very urgent. At first you may wonder where I'm going with this, but with a little patience it'll all come together. The state has been closing the state borders on occasions, and it upsets not only business, but a lot of people can't do their business and all that sort of thing. But I'm not standing before you to talk about that exactly. Let me quickly explain. Australia is in an extremely good position, and we don't really have any outbreaks of the virus in any states, only from people coming in from overseas and if they break their curfew. And if unfortunately it does come out in the public anywhere, then a hot crew, or whatever you want to call them, can go in, and let's say it was Camperdown, they'd just go in straight away, lock it all down for a few days until they get all management, because the virus doesn't say, oh, hang on for 48 hours, everyone can scatter all over Australia and spread it as far as they like. The virus doesn't work like that. And the reason I stand before you is because every time, and it is happening now, it takes many police, not just hundreds, but into the thousands of police. And country people matter. Where do you think the police come from? They come from small communities like Camperdown. The Corangamite Shire. The Corangamite Shire has been left wanting on quite a few occasions lately because of lack of numbers of police. I would like this Shire, and I've been also recommended by some high-up people who have egged me on to do this, to write to the federal government and the state government and asking them to cease immediately the lockdown of borders, because this matter can be handled much better by having a flying squad to go to where it's needed. The people, country people, do matter, and we have a right to be kept safe because we have adequate numbers of police. And this is not just for the Corangamite Shire, this is for every small town in the whole of Australia. And it's about time we looked to the future and keep people safe by doing the right thing. And I ask that when you have your confidential meeting after this one, that you consider writing to the state government and the federal government, because even the Secretary of Dan Tehan is a very well-respected member of our community and looked upon by our Prime Minister very, very well. And it would be coming from this Shire thought more of than coming from an individual, that we do not need to have border closures. We just need to manage people coming from overseas a little bit better. And I'm only reiterating the main point. Country people matter, and we deserve to be looked after by our police and that sort of thing. And that's why I stand before you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr Mulholland. Any further questions on open forum? Mr Kennedy.
Thank you, Mayor Gastreen, for the opportunity to address Council this evening. And before I get to why I'm here, just a couple of congratulations to the Council. It's been terrific during the... not many positives came out of COVID, but I think one that did was the Corangamite Shire's willingness to live stream their council meetings to their constituents. So congratulations on that initiative, and I think it's been well received by most of your constituents, perhaps not so by my children who have sat at the dinner table a couple of times listening to you all, but I think it is a great way of reaching the rest of the ratepayers. So well done on that initiative. The reason I've come to see you though tonight, I may not be as regular as other people in the gallery at your council meetings, but over the past 18 years or so I have come and fronted council on 3 or 4 occasions, and on each of those occasions it's with a want, and most of the time we were wanting money, and I speak on behalf of the Camperdown Football Netball Club. We've recently elected a new committee, and Aaron Sinnott, our new president, is with me tonight. But back in 2003 or 4, we set ourselves a goal to redevelop our facilities up at the Lura Oval, and in 2007, with assistance from the Victorian State Government and the Corangamite Shire, we built new change rooms, stage 1, and then in stage 2 in 2010 we were fortunate enough to build our new social rooms, our function centre. And once again, this time it was when Kevin Rudd was in power and his stimulus packages were throwing a fair bit of money around, and we were a major beneficiary of the money that the Corangamite Shire was afforded at the time, along with a grant from the Corangamite Shire. So work's progressed, And with consultation with neighbours and planning permits and building permits and things, we found ourselves that we had a whole heap of other requirements that we needed to implement into our infrastructure in building our social rooms, and that found us with quite a financial shortfall at the time. And I say all this just for the pure fact that I think Councillor Gastreen is the only remaining member of the council that we were dealing with at the time, so this is just a little bit of history for all the new councillors. And so we found ourselves fronting council when another Councillor Macon was mayor at the time. Councillor Kate, if you could pass on our thanks to previous Mayor Matt Macon. And we fronted council with quite a significant shortfall, and council at the time saw fit to increase their contribution. We were $150,000 short. They saw fit to grant us a further $50,000, which was gratefully appreciated, and at the time then lent us $100,000 on a 10-year plan. And it's my pleasure to inform you all tonight, and I'm sure your bean counters are already fully aware, but last month, we made that final payment of that $100,000 loan. So on behalf of our club, we just wanted to come tonight to thank council. It's always difficult to come and ask for things, but I also think it's important that we thank when we receive. So our club would like to thank the Shire for their ongoing support of our endeavours up at the ground, and to their continued endeavours with so many other sporting clubs throughout the Shire. And I would encourage the Shire to continue to support all different sports and recreations, because again, if COVID taught us anything, it's the camaraderie and the mateship and the physical activity that so many sporting clubs offer that is so important to our Shire community. So on behalf of our club, thanks to the Shire for their support in the past, and hopefully we can continue to have a great working relationship. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Canadian. It's hard to believe that it's 10 years since that meeting. Can I congratulate your team at the Camperdown Football Netball Club in repaying those funds and for continuing the improvement work that you've done, the new lighting towers that have gone up at the Lura Oval. You know, once again, the club is willing to put their hands in their pockets and get fundraising, and I'm sure you'll meet that the debt that you have there in a very short time. You've got a great band of volunteers at the football club, so well done to you. And I think from a council point of view, there's nothing like helping volunteer groups achieve their goals. I think it gives you a really good feeling when you see the hard work that goes into it. So great job by the footy club. Councillor Beard.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, I'd just like to comment that very often we have people who come, and this is no offence to you, Mr Mulholland, we always appreciate you in the gallery and what you have to say to us at each monthly meeting, but it's not very often we always get someone come back to council with positive news like that. So thank you to you, Peter, and the Camperdown Football Netball Club for giving us something really positive, particularly after the year we've all had. We know how integral football netball clubs are to our communities. Like we wholeheartedly know how much they mean, and I think it's of benefit to all of you that you could continue to come out the way you have, and to stand here tonight and tell us that you've been able to pay that loan back. I also want to make recognition of you. That's the type of person you are, to stand up here and give us that positive news. Not everyone would think to do that, but it's certainly nice to see someone come and, as I said, approach council and give us that good news, and that's just you as a person, and that's why you were recognised yesterday at our Australia Day Awards with that Achievement Award. So thank you, and I hope a lot of people out there have seen what you've done tonight, because it does mean a lot to us as council, so thank you.
Hear, hear. Well done, Joe. If there's nothing further, councillors or members of the gallery, I will close this meeting and thank you for your attendance. Thank you.